We're going live. We'll continue our chat about wanting she said no.
Shed?
She said what is the word? She sheds.
Shed. Sheds.
Sheds.
I'm going to call mine a femme fort. So,
A what?
a femme fort.
Uh-huh. Why do they give me a survey? I don't want to take a survey. Hello, we're live. Happy Sunday.
Hi, we're live.
Pam, your husband's trying to sleep.
Yeah, he
Not
is.
now, he's not.
Not
He's
anymore.
Ah,
Bless his heart. Trusty. Thrifty has to work tonight.
he
So,
does. He does. So I'm trying to let him get some extra rest. So I'm
well,
down here just with the dogs. Me and the dogs are downstairs.
trying to be extra quiet. Look, Debbie from Our Vagabond Travels is joining us all the way
Debbie.
from Mexico.
Hey.
From Mexico?
Mexico.
I love Mexico.
Hey, Christine. Christine was live this morning. I caught it as she was leaving. She was packaging some stuff. Hey, Christine. Christine just went to Renegers, right, Christine? You were there this weekend. And then after you posted yours, I saw Katie and Erin and Alex. And I was like, oh, did she miss them too? Good morning, Leanne.
Good morning.
I've got the comments on this time.
Yay!
Oh,
Good girl.
turn your comments on.
All you got to do is click the little button on the side.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
The whole last
That's right.
time I didn't have them.
She went Friday. That looked like so much fun, Christine. I spent the morning this morning kind of putting all of the goodies that I got in that mystery box that included some Silvercrest Fenton.
Ooh.
Hey, Mama.
Hi,
Look at
Grace.
my Mama.
Oh, hi, Mama.
Hi, Mama.
Hey, Dolores,
Bella
you have
Rose.
something to tell Bella Rose?
I was just typing. The mission is complete. The mission is complete.
The Red Falcon has landed.
Yeah, pretty much. The Walnut Whips have landed.
She'll be tracking it. Look, y'all. Hey, Dana Grace. She's and Mom. That it's a good one. It's a good one. So you still have to share. You still have to share. Although that's not ever sharing has never been one of like my strong suits. I mean, I do share, but my mom was like, "You're an only child. You don't really have to share." So I had to learn how to share from my kindergarten teacher. Oh goodness. Hey, Miss Sheila. And look, when I mentioned sharing, not. And Christine, I'm really shocked. So we are excited to come back together again. We are missing Erin. We're going to give some life updates along with some, if you watch the first video, which is linked in the description below, we did a live chat that included Erin from the Collection Vintage about what it was like being a vendor or having a booth or a space in a antique store, vintage store, emporium, something. I had gotten several questions through Instagram and email. And so we did the first one. And as we were talking about, well, it was in, I think October, right, y'all? I think we did this.
Yeah.
And it was about to be fourth quarter. And apparently fourth quarter is supposed to be the busy time because Christmas and all that. So we talked about coming back together to give an update because, you know, people were looking at additional spaces, not knowing if their space was going to work. So we thought we would come back together to give you some updates about our booth. So if this is your first time here, or if you are lurking and just watching and listening, thank you so much for being here in the chat and for watching. I have my special guest here, and I'm going to start with Miss Dolo. Dolores, tell us who you are and where we can find you.
Hi, I am Dolores, Miss Dam Jewelry. You can find me on YouTube under Miss Dam Jewelry, on Instagram under DAM Jewelry UK. The DAM is my initials, so it's, DAM.
He's not cursing
And
at you.
I'm not cursing at you. And I am based here in the UK, originally from Texas.
Where she will be visiting next
Yeah,
month.
yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Just
fun.
saying. Just saying. All right, Miss Pam.
Okay. Okay. So I'm Pam. I am actually Kiwi's Collectibles. And I have a YouTube channel where I just thrift, which is the most fun thing to do. I've named my channel after my dog Kiwi. So I'm not Kiwi, I'm Pam. And I basically that's it. I'm a first grade teacher. I'm looking to retire, and 2 booths which are about 5 minutes from my home, which is really great. So that's basically it. I've decided, not really trying, but I've just past week I've tried to post a little bit more on Instagram. So you should see me on YouTube, Kiwi's Collectibles, and Instagram. And when I retire, I think I'm gonna try TikTok, y'all.
Ooh.
Oh Lord, here we go with a
Yeah.
TikTok. Pam on TikTok, Dolo.
TikToks, yeah.
She'll be
Nope.
doing all the dances with the
Oh,
kids.
yeah.
You also have Facebook. I think she freezes.
Am I freezing?
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Okay, I'm from the same state that Beth is from, South Carolina. What? East Coast family. Okay, that's it.
And you're on Facebook too.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I forget about Facebook.
Yeah. So apparently, y'all, new news. Facebook is a quote unquote forgotten platform that has a larger, broader audience than Instagram. I was looking at a girl that does, she does like media, PR kind of stuff. And she was like, do not forget about Facebook.
Yeah.
So-
I'd like to. I'd absolutely like to.
Well, business Facebook.
Okay.
So, and my next guest is Miss Carol from My
Hello.
Blessed Nest.
Yes. The name of my YouTube channel is My Blessed Nest. I'm in Ohio and it's snowing today, unfortunately.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it. It's yucky. And I'm on Instagram. I like to make reels, and I'm My Blessed Nest 33 over there, and I always link it in my YouTube channel. And I have 3 different areas. We call them booths, but they're not huge. But I have 3 different units at 3 different spots at the Majestic Turnaround, and it's about 2 minutes from my house. So that's pretty
y'all are lucky.
good. Yeah.
So let's start with the booth update. Since you mentioned your booths, the last time you had 3 spots in the same store.
Yes.
Do you still have those same 3 spots in the same store?
I do. Yes. I haven't added on anymore and I haven't moved. They're all
Are you looking to add?
No. I would like to get more together. My 3 spots are at 3 different areas.
Oh yeah.
That can be a plus or a negative.
Yeah.
The plus is I'm exposed to different people looking at the 3 different areas. But the negative is I'm running my rear end off all over the store, trying to, move things around. But then if something doesn't do good in one booth, I can move it to another one and it might sell.
Yeah, it just depends on who goes down that aisle or that section of the room.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll talk about 4th quarter in a second. Pam, I'm coming back to you. Be ready.
Okay.
So last time we talked to you, you had 2 booths, like booths areas, and they are in 2 different stores in the same strip mall.
Yes.
And so do you still have those 2?
I do have those 2. And I want to ask Carol a question because maybe this is something we could discuss. Carol, you have 3 different areas. Do you sell this like the same type of items in each area, or do you have one that's like a certain niche? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, I get it. I find that the shelving unit that I have that has glass shelves, well, actually, I have two of the three have the glass shelves that I tend to put more pretty things. And the one that's wooden shelves, I put more rustic things. But
Yeah.
I would like to, that's one of the things that I was hoping we would talk about. I would like to get more of a theme going.
Yeah.
And more of where it's designed like I would decorate my home more than just putting things on the shelf.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think that would help sell it better because people can imagine how it's going to look in their own home rather just having random things sitting on a shelf that they can't even relate to.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm making a note to come back to that.
Okay.
Kind of like staging
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
with that.
Mm.
And pros and cons of staging too. We'll talk about that. Hey, Bree. All right, so let's go to Dolo. Dolo, last time we spoke to you, you had, I wrote notes, one glass case in,
Yes.
is it Fusion Antiques?
Yes. Fusion Antiques here in Claycross where I live. I still do have it, but there are changes afoot.
They're doing
So we'll
what?
talk there's changes afoot. There
So,
is changes happening. So do you
so
want to talk
but you
about it?
still have the one.
Yeah, I have the one. And so if she's actually going to move from that facility, because obviously with the cost of living and the cost of electricity and everything is going up, it's too large, it's costing too much money for her. And so she's moving into a smaller facility. And I thought, well, that's it. I'm going to find someplace else. And she said, oh, no, no, I want you to go with me. So I will still have a booth in her facility. It'll just be a smaller facility, a different. It's still in the same town. It's just the other side of town. And our town is not big. I can walk to it, so it's still going to be close to me. But I'm also going to get another space in another antique um, uh, store, which has all been squared away and it's finalized. I just won't be moving until the middle of March.
So what was the reason? So we know why she moved.
Mhm.
And I know that when we talked, you said you were kind of worried, like, oh no, she's closing is kind of what she said
Well,
originally.
yeah. At first she said she was closing, and then she managed to find a place that she had been before. So there's these small units. It's called the Midway Business Center, and there's smaller units. And she was there when she first started, and then she moved to bigger premises. Obviously, with the cost of everything going up, it's just very hard to maintain all that. All the electricity, the bills. So she is now moving into a smaller space and still going to be open, still going to be Fusion Antique. She's just going to go back to where she started, but in a different unit, but the same business center. So her unit will be up front of the business center, and she actually started that business center to start with. That's where she was, but she asked if I wanted to go, have a space in that facility, and I said, "Yes, ma'am, I do." so,
So, but what
so
was her reasoning? I want you to tell people why she invited you. She kind of sought you
oh
out to go with.
yeah,
Because
so
this is really important as
right.
I thought it was a very good point that the owner recognized this.
So the owner Sarah, she had a couple of she rented other spaces out to other people. Not many. It's not a massive place. She had like five other, besides herself, five other people renting spots, cabinets and spaces from her. And she wanted me, and I was the only one she asked, simply because when I got in there and started putting my stuff in there, I began to get a following. People were coming in and going straight like to my case, asking if I changed anything out, you know, what's have I, when am I getting this new stuff? Am I, and every time I bring stuff in, it tends to go. So that's why she invited me to go with her to the first one because she said, since I have somewhat of a following, she wants to bring that along with her to the new place, because these, there's people who particularly come in, to see what I've got.
And I think
What
that
my
was smart of her, because you run the risk of losing the in-person business to your online stores when,
Right.
because those people are still going to seek your type of product, but you're losing, they're going to stop going into her store, which then they
Right.
probably mill around and stuff and just shop your stores online, where
Yeah.
we still want to keep those people coming in the store.
Yes, yeah. So she had asked me, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah." I mean, at first I felt honored that she would consider to, even such a small space, have another seller, and I was glad she picked me, and I'm glad she felt like I had brought, like my items, not just me. I mean, it's not me myself; it's the stuff.
Right.
And most people have not even seen me in there.
Yeah.
But I change my stuff up every week or every 2 weeks, or not change it, but I swap it around and
Mhm.
make it look, do other things because it's so close to me. But I can just pop in, after work on a Friday, you know, and give it a little zhuzh around and um, bring it back, or add something or take away. Because if I start to get low, I don't want it to look empty. She'll message me and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
you're getting low. You want to bring some more stuff?" And I'm like, "Sure." So.
Let me walk on down there with my box of goodies.
Oh no, I'm not walking. Don't lose your mind. I'm driving. Uh,
It's literally like 2 minutes, and she could.
I mean, I could probably take my little buggy and just sit down there, but bring the stuff.
Yes.
And then I am going. Like I said, I'm going to get another space in Bolsover Antiques in Bolsover, which is not as close to me, but it's not that far. It's honestly about 10, 15 minutes from me. But Bolsover Castle is in Bolsover, which is where Bolsover Castle is located. So the antique shop is pretty much next to a castle, which tourists come to and coaches come and bring people come in because we're at the edge of the Peak District, you see. So,
So
which is
I
very
mean,
touristy.
you literally have an antique store next to a major attraction, and
Yeah,
so while
it's not,
they're
yeah, it's a,
once they maybe they go in with a tour or whatever, and then they let them
yeah,
mill around the streets. It's like
yeah,
it's like drawing, you know, people in for the castle, but which is,
yeah.
how cool is that your shop is near a
I
castle?
know. Yeah,
But
it's just pretty
then
cool.
the foot traffic is much increased just by
Yeah,
that attraction there.
correct. And it's so close to where the town center is. Which is where all the shops are. And to get, you have to, if you're coming up from the town center, or if you, no matter which way, you have to go past the antique shop to go to the castle. And then across the street from me is a artisan area where there's like this old, it's called Old Balls Over, and it has all like artisans, people who make stuff. So you have that on across the street from the antique mall. So now you've got loads of other like attractions for people to come.
So your
So I'm
foot
excited.
traffic, location, location, location,
Yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
like with anything.
exactly. So I'm
So
pretty excited about it. Yeah.
yeah, that was really cool. And she was we're gonna talk about like how you picked which one you wanted in, because
Mm,
she had an options within that thing,
yeah.
that big shop, and she had different options of sizes of
Oh,
booth
yeah.
and cost of booth and location of those booths and things. So last time we spoke, I had recently I had my big booth. It's probably like a 20 by 10, honestly. So it's big in
Big.
Glen Flora, but it's way out
Okay.
there. So that's an hour from me. It is kind of known for that antiquing vintage kind of feel. People travel there to do that, even though it's one or two stores. But the neighboring town also has like a full street of like shops. And I had recently acquired the one shelf. So kind of like Carol, where mine was like 5 or 6 shelf, and it was their shelf,
Mhm.
but I was renting the shelf space. Um, and I paid $50 a month for that, and it was 6 months up front. And then my other one is no booth fee, but 30% commission. And in the other video, we kind of talked about what each one of our booths cost, what kind of commissions, what kind of things that, that are costly for us to even just be in the space, not to mention the work of sourcing, cleaning, researching, tagging, and keeping up. I will say right now, I am running I was started a 20% off of everything in both booths. And this weekend, I was supposed to go and put in a sign that said I was 20% off of everything. This weekend, I was going to do 50% off of Christmas and clear glass. So, because in one of my in the big booth, I have a lot of clear glass. I like clear glass. I pick up clear glass. And so hence I have clear glass, but it's all over the place. I don't know about y'all, but I don't put like all my clear glass in one spot or all my glass items in one area of my booth. I do the staging thing that we're talking about. So I want them to kind of, oh, I see that it's 50% off of Christmas, which could be Christmas over here with some wood stuff over here. It's whatever the aesthetic is. And as they look, they'll find things that would be a little bit on sale. So 50%. And in my one booth at Glen Flora, she was like, well, do you want to run the sales at the same time? And so I asked her what she thought about it. And she said, well, it's 20% off of everything, but you have an additional 50% off Christmas in clear glass. That's going to draw in audiences that are not just looking for clear glass and Christmas. You're not limiting yourself to people who are looking for sale items. And so I was going to do that until the end of January, but I got to get down there to do it. So I still have those. Like Dolores, one of the things is that Pam, you've done this a lot. I know that Carol talks about her booths a lot and stuff and you've taken pictures and stuff, but Pam recently started posting, like she said, pictures of things in her booth and tagging her booth, like tagging the stores. So when I went into Vogelsang, I actually went in as a customer, and then I went in and she did a live video with me about vintage clocks because she repairs vintage clocks and antique clocks. So I thought that was really interesting. And so we did a live in her shop. So I continued to shop there, and it's packed. Like it is. That store is packed. It's 2 stories. It's packed. But then I said, hey, if anybody ever moves out, I kind of would be interested in starting with like a little place. And she was like, we will make you a spot because you're always shopping and videoing and you're putting it on Facebook, you're putting it on Instagram, you're mentioning us in YouTube. We've had people come in and say they're from the area, didn't know, even though this whole street has been there. It's one whole street. It's actually a block. And it's just store after store after store because it goes like this and theirs is off a little bit on a street. Some people forget about it. But they're very busy and they're busy all the time. They also have like a little bakery upstairs as well as a vintage, not a vintage, but like a small theater, like a small theater production. So how smart is that you've got people have to go past your stuff to get to the baked goods and to do the plays and stuff, to see the little plays. So I thought that would be fun. So she did say, I would love to have you in here, find you a space because you do so much, publicity for us. So fourth quarter, y'all, I will say my fourth quarter, I did better online with live sales and drop sales than I did in my booths. It was really slow at the Glen Flora Emporium. Now I still made money, but I'm talking about like blowing it out of the water. I'm 2 quick nickels. I like to turn things very quickly because that's a constant cash flow. And that means I can shop more and then, just in and out, where sometimes things just sit. We call that a slow dime. It just sits for a while. And that's one of the reasons that I don't do eBay because things will just sit for sometimes. But I did now the first 2 months that I was at Vogelsang, I did not make the $50 a month. I'm a new vendor. They didn't know I was a new vendor. They had taken stuff off of a shelf and I put my stuff on there. But at Christmas, like Dolores said, I got a text that said, hey, we're selling and your booth is almost empty. Can you come and bring stuff? And I was like, sure. In my spare time, let me ride down there, which is about 20 or 30 minutes. So one is 20 or 30 minutes from me and one is an hour from me. And so I went down there and I put a bunch of stuff up there, but I continued. They're noticing the stuff a little bit more. They're noticing that, you know, my stuff is different than the other vendors. I mean, we still have the same things. We might still have Fenton, or we might still have, I'm a little bit more kitsch than some of the other ones. And there's just a lot of stuff, but it's not exactly like you were saying, Carol. It's not exactly in like the best high traffic area. You kind of have to go around and pass it by. So I just think that people just didn't know I was there. So fourth quarter for me, we did okay, but of course you always want to do better, right? So I think people don't buy a lot of vintage for gifts. It's usually for personal collections. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So Carol, how did you do fourth quarter?
It was my best ever. So I sold a lot of things that were Christmas. I sold a lot of things that have been in my booth forever that I was thinking I should yank out because they're never going to sell. I was very surprised. Some of the sales that I made, very encouraged. And we do get a lot of traffic at Christmas. It's always the biggest month, December, and even probably some of November too. And then I also have continued to sell some Christmas that I've been slowly, you know, purging it out. And I've still been selling it in January. So that was encouraging as well. But we do have a lot of people coming in, I feel, looking for gifts around Christmas. And,
well, I mean, you picked out your own gifts in the shop for your husband. In her video, she said she showed what her husband got. She had a video that came out that she was showing what she got for Christmas from her husband. And she's like, look, I picked it all out. So he can't go wrong. But he did pretty good because he found a few extra little things that you had not picked out.
Yes, he surprised me big time.
So that was great.
We had illness around Christmas, and so normally we make a whole day of it, and we go out and we just shop for my gifts, and we didn't get to do that this year. So I was down at the Majestic turnaround, and I was like, "Is that me?"
That was me. Sorry.
I was thinking, like, if I want anything under that tree, I'm going to need to take matters into my own hands today. So I did. Yeah.
So I'm glad that yours did really well. I mean, we did well, but you know, I just want like to blow it out of the water one time. And I think tax return season, like Geneva said, should pick up. And that's true. And as far as Christmas, y'all, we buy Christmas all year. We buy, if I could find Easter, St. Patrick's Day, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Halloween, anything black, like black amethyst glass or anything, we're buying it. So I mean, when I go into shops, like Pam, I went to the antique mall, the big one, and I just did the first video release. That's the biggest place I've ever been to in my whole wide life. I mean, literally, we were halfway through and I was thinking, oh man, should we like check on Dad and Lovey? And she was like, well, I don't know. And I said, well, you know, what time is it? Thinking, you know, we got there at what? I think 10:30. So I'm thinking it's like, oh, I don't know, 11:30. Hey, Catherine. And she goes, oh, it's 1:30. I was like, you are kidding me. Like I say that in the video because I had no idea. You literally get lost. But they had all seasons out. It's just whatever they had. And we were buying it. So, you know, while you don't want the whole booth, talking about staging, you don't want the whole booth to be Christmas. But, you know, if something kind of Christmas-like fits in, it's just a way. Like, so I keep picking this up because they're so pretty and I got it yesterday. But if you switch this out, you know, maybe you find some of that plastastic Christmas, it just shows how you could use it all seasons. You know, you might have Christmas in this one and Easter in this one, but it just shows people how to use that. My mom would do that, pick out our own gifts and wrap them. Well, that's one smart lady. So Pam, how did you do fourth quarter?
I will tell you, I did very well. I did very
Good.
well. I did much better in November than I did in December. It just seems like at the beginning of November, that's when everyone was out. I mean, they started shopping for everything.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that one reason that I think I did better in November than December, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I did great in December, but I just had, I made more money in November. Okay, so we're in a strip mall, and there's this large store called Ivy House, and there's another large store called Refined. They have totally different vibes.
Right.
Then we've got Pontiac Mercantile, which is I'm in that store, and then another shop called B&L Antiques, and then Not Forgotten. So I'm also in Not Forgotten. So I can't remember which one, either Ivy House or Refined had one of their outside events. So they had lots of their vendors bring lots of things and set up outside in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And Ivy House is like super well known, and they have a lot of customers, and it's a beautiful store. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's gorgeous inside. So they bring a lot of people in, and it's people that may have never been in our shops. They may just come for Ivy House and leave, but a lot of people just kind of kept going down.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the reasons, having that type of outside event helped. And then, of course, again, you get people that have never been in our stores before, and then they're going to start coming back. So things have picked up, but those things really helped. And so I did very well. This month, January, not as well, but I've made rent in both of my stores already, and I've already made a little bit of money, but nothing like November and December.
Well,
so having those outside events, y'all, is so amazing. It does help a lot.
Even any event, like, okay, so Dolores, your group has Fiverr Fest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Fiverr Fest happens in the town. Yeah.
And is it once or twice a year?
Twice a year. Mm-hmm.
And so Fiverr Fest is where is it just things that are marked $5, or they spotlight things that are marked $5?
So what it is if the premise is if everybody spends £5 a week in a local shop for 300, the whole year, these shops will survive. These independent shops would survive. So what it is people have offers. So the coffee house may have a sandwich and a coffee for a $5. I may do mini mystery boxes for a $5. Sarah, who has the antique shop, may do all clear glass for a $5. The tea place, Cup and Saucer, may do 2 bags of tea for a $5. So everybody gets involved. All these businesses get involved that give specials for a $5. It's just to highlight all these businesses. This last one was massive. It was pretty much everybody in town was involved in Fiverr Fest.
And I'm kind of toying with bringing that idea up to Vogelsang, because even if we do it within our own store, like clear glass, everything clear glass, $5, or there's a $5 sale where everything on my shelf is just $5. And drawing people in for something some people consider a lot of money, some people consider it a minuscule amount of money, but $5, what can you get for $5, right? It's like a clearance sale almost. LaDonna says some stores around here give you discounts if you shopped at a store near them, which is a good idea, like almost like a they've done this, they do this in Rosenberg. They do a chocolate walk, which is coming up in February. They do a cookie walk in December, and then they do a wine fest. But the chocolate and the cookie walk, you get a passport. And every time you go into one of the stores on that block, you get a stamp or a signature and a piece of chocolate or a cookie, depending on which walk it is. And then when you fill it up or do so many, you bring it back to the city booth, and they give you a gift bag.
Mm.
And so it kind of helps people go from place to place. Now, when I go, I have that little passport. I never remember to get anybody to stamp it. I don't typically pass the cookie or the chocolate, but I'm not really worried about the stamp, right? So I think that is a good idea too, because the city sponsors that whole area. Like the city is promoting that whole area as well.
Well, this isn't the city that does it. It's the independent shop owners that have, well,
Right.
Cup and Saucer, the tea lady, Cup and Saucer, Gail, she's the one who organized it because it was started in another part of the UK, and she read about it and she got in contact with the people who organized it in another part of the country, and they told her, "Here's how you do it," and she's like, "Right, well, and she started it." So it's not necessarily the city guys; it's the small businesses in the town that have pushed this.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think that it's that the city actually supporting that one block of all of those stores down there, that's a big deal. Now they do have a wine fest too. You buy a ticket for wine fest, but then you can go and, they get these little I don't know what you call them. They're like little 1-day event wine licenses, alcohol permits. In certain stores, you can get a small thing of wine, but you pay I think it's $75 to sip and stroll, basically. It's a sip and stroll kind of thing. So Dolores, how'd you do fourth quarter?
I did good. I did really well. The weird thing is, so here's the weird thing. I did good in October. November, I put out like my Christmas stuff because you want it out early so people can. Now, I don't think that people here realize that you can buy vintage decorations to decorate your house, vintage Christmas decorations. I think people end up going to like the big stores to buy the big, all the, throwaway types of stuff. But so I had in my booth, I had a lot of Christmas stuff, but I had also, like gift items. Um, and the Christmas stuff, none of it hardly moved, but all the gift items did. So when I saw that, I said, right, I need to make a decision. I need to take some of this excess Christmas stuff out and put in stuff and put in items that would be like gifts, like
Yeah.
for your mom or your dad. So and so the first part of November was a little slow, and then when I decided to go, okay, I'll leave some of Christmas just to make it festive, and obviously it's for sale, but I'm going to kind of move it around a little bit, have a little bit of Christmas on this shelf, but kind of focus on gifts, like
Yeah.
things that can be bought for gifts. That worked. That me changing that up, and I saw real quick that after I saw real quick it wasn't the Christmas wasn't flying out, but the stuff that could be given as gifts or buying for themselves was. So I just went in, swapped it out, kind of took some of the Christmas. I'll put it on my Etsy. That'll be fine. It'll sell on that. And just left a little bit of Christmas just to make it festive, but then put a bunch of items that were like giftwares, and that helped. And it's just that here, I don't think it's not like in the States where, I mean, we do it because I'm a reseller and I love vintage. So I would go and buy all the Christmas stuff. That's not and online people buy it, but I think in a shop, people in an antique shop like that, I don't think people realize that they can buy the vintage Christmas and incorporate it into their modern Christmas.
Right. Decor.
And I think so. What I think next year I'm going to do is perhaps show that, like showcase that type of thing. New with old, or with like a lovely vase with like a vintage candle holder, floral piece in it, so people can see the. So it and then once I change it up, bam, I did really really well. The gifts were flying out. Obviously, my biggest seller is brooches.
But
Because
weirdly, you don't get like Christmas brooches over there. You don't find those as much, right?
they're not as common, and when I do find them, I will snatch them up. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, if I do find them, few far between. Those actually did well. The Christmas brooches
Yeah.
did well.
I remember
And
you
just
saying
the
that
brooches.
when we were going through this jewelry down here, and there was this whole lot of like Christmas tree brooches, and she was like, "We can't even find that. That would fly out of my booths and stuff."
Yeah. And so once I changed it up, I had a good fourth quarter. But I had to be conscious. I can't force somebody to buy vintage Christmas I would like them to. I can leave it there and let it sit there and go, well, you're going to buy it. I'm like, no, 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 no. I got to do something to change this up. So I did. As much as I want someone to buy all the Christmas, that's neither here nor there. I have to, the
Yeah.
people dictate what they're going to buy. And so I have to provide that.
So LaDonna, this reminds me when you said they have bus tours where specifically an antique tour.
Yeah.
That's that whole thing, that meme that says, okay, just think about this for a minute. It is a party bus that goes from thrift store to thrift store.
Mhm.
Yes, sign me up.
Mhm.
And she also says that she's on a mission to remove decor that has made in China stickers. But I was doing some research about when made in China started, and old made in China will soon, very soon, if not already, be that industry standard 20 years old. So there will be some made in China things, and then you'll have to just determine. That's where we'll have to be responsible for knowing our research as to which made in China things. Where I got them. As she said, when we were wedding dress shopping, my daughter mentioned she was looking for vintage wood flowers instead of the real wedding. They dye them to match the color. Oh, that's pretty.
I
So
mean,
that's
you say vintage, made in China vintage. A lot of them are, my friend Kristen Scottish Magpie researches, and she sells a lot of Chinese pottery. Some of it's super old.
mhm.
And and that are antiques, and it doesn't necessarily made in China, but it'll have the Chinese writing characters on it, and some of it's worth money. I mean, I don't know anything about it, but she researches it and knows, like, she can tell, and I'm like, I don't know, take it, you get, yeah. So I think it just depends. I mean, if it's part of, if even if you I just think if you have something made in China and it's part of your aesthetic, and or it goes with what you're selling, I don't think people would mind, you know. Oh, yeah,
Oh,
okay.
she said she's talking about like Hobby Lobby.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah. Oh,
But there
yeah,
are
yeah.
people that won't pick up if it says made in China. But like I have this ginger jars down here that is it says hand painted in China or something, but it is really vintage. So Catherine said she had a rush on her aluminum tree. People brought people in to the store because we advertised it. Well, I mean, there you go. Let's see. Great point. The younger crowds that are collecting the 90s toys and decor for their childhood will increase in value. Yes. And I was saying yesterday on my little live where I opened up that mystery box that Pam, I did career day.
No.
And I talked to the kids about being a small business owner. And of course, as a former educator and teacher, which let me just say this, Pam. I forgot how exhausting it was to teach because I only had 30-minute sessions. My voice, my throat was sore. My back hurt from standing up. I was sweating because I had been moving around and entertaining for like 30 whole minutes. I had to have like a PowerPoint. There was a whole lesson plan thing. I mean, it was just too much. I was like, y'all, I'm ready to go sit back down and answer the phone. I don't know what to
I
do.
know.
So
I
I
know.
forgot how like on you are as a teacher, but I got to teach them some vocabulary, small business, sole proprietor, entrepreneur. We did vintage versus
Good.
antique. We did some math. No one is teaching Roman numerals. I was like, y'all will never be able to figure out anything how old something is because you don't know how to read numerals.
I have to Google it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I figured I've got a little system down now, but we talked about, but I brought up the video games for them because that's kind of what they were interested in at the beginning. They found out I had a YouTube channel, so it was over. That's all they wanted to talk about. But I made them go through all the other steps to get to it. But at the end, I had taken some samples. And I was saying yesterday that I took like a magnet toy from like 74, which had Roman numerals. And I took an address flip up where you slide to the ABCs and then you push the button and it pops up. Girl, they were more impressed with that than they were the uranium glass. Hey, Kathy. So I put everything out on the table and just let them look at it and touch it. And the teacher was like, don't touch it. I said, hey, I mean, I thrifted it. So you know what? If
right.
they drop it, I drop stuff at my house. But I had vintage and antique, and we talked about postmarks on the back of postcards, and they had so much fun. They wrote me a bunch of they wrote me a bunch of really cool cards and stuff. Yeah, I'm telling you, I cannot handle it anymore. Yes, my throat, I was like, oh my God, like I'm a talker, but my throat was killing me. My
Yeah.
back was hurting because I stood up the whole time. What does this say? It says they won't be able to do much, Beth, if we lose all modern convenience. Yeah. Yes, I know. Read cursive. I was showing them some Basils and stuff, Basil readers and stuff, and they were like, "This is a book." Yeah, it's called a textbook because all their stuff is online. So, Dolores, you talked about it a minute ago, so that we can circle back to the staging thing. You realized that things were not moving when you put them out there, but once you staged your booth differently with gift concepts.
Yeah.
Then things started moving. And
Yes,
I know,
correct.
Pam, you have the two booths and they're two very different aesthetics, right?
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about what each aesthetic is, and do you cross over, or do you try to mix it up, or do you just try to keep one and the other aesthetic?
Okay. Well, in my booth at Pontiac Mercantile, I have more of the pottery, some mid-century modern, just kind of funky kind of stuff, you know. And at Not Forgotten, that booth is just more of, I mean, I do have some contemporary items in there. I do have ephemera, vintage items, you know, like old vintage teddy bears, and I have some Joseph originals, things like that in my Not Forgotten booth. And my booth at Not Forgotten, even though it's big, it is bigger, and I would say I have more items there. I do better there, I think, because it's a variety. It's not, I'm not narrowed down like I am at Pontiac Mercantile. So if you don't like brass, then you're probably not going to go in my booth. You know, if they see a bunch of brass or pottery, they'll pass by. And that's really a downfall that I see with kind of, you know, putting myself in that one type of niche of certain items and not being broad. I don't do as well at Pontiac Mercantile. I do well. I make my rent, and I make a little bit over my rent every month, and I'm happy. That's my taste. I love pottery, you know, Namaji pottery. I love the
Brass.
Native American things. I love brass, and I love to decorate my home with those things. So I'm always gravitating to those things when I'm out, which is why I said, hey, when I got that second booth at Pontiac Mercantile, that's when I said, hey, since I'm already buying that stuff and I love it, let's just, you know, put it in the booth and sell it. So that's kind of like my pros and cons with that. You know, when you narrow yourself down, you know, not everyone wants to go in that booth.
So Carol, you've got the three. Do you kind of do one shelf might be like all boho and one area, or do you mix and match through everything?
I just mix and match through everything. And sometimes I wonder if I'm more opposite of what Pam is saying, and I'm maybe too much the other way. And maybe I need to niche down a little bit and at least have it so I can make vignettes and stuff, rather than it just looking like a bunch of stuff somebody put on a shelf at a garage sale.
Yeah.
There are
Carol, I feel like when in my booth at Pontiac Mercantile, where I have just, you know, the niche there, I feel like I can stage better. Yeah. You know, because I have black, and then I have brass items, and then I can throw in, you know, I have like carved elephants and all my carved wood things, and I put those I stack them in beautiful vignettes. But at the other store, my vignettes are not so much. They're not as pretty.
So it's not a vignette. It's just it's a bunch of vintage items.
Yes.
Yeah. And I've had times in my booth where things have really flowed, you know, depending on what I have. Like I can do a green shelf, and I can do a pink shelf or whatever. And it seems a lot more appealing to my eye. And I would think it would be to others as well. You know, like when you go to Goodwill and they have all the green on the end, aren't you drawn to that a little bit? More than just a bunch of random items. So that's one of my goals for the new year. I'm going to be working on trying to actually, when I'm out thrifting, trying to find things not just that I like or not just that I think will sell, but that are going to be easier to stage and make look good.
Yeah, and LaDonna says if you can mix those styles and vignettes to see the different errors and styles. Now, I just did this in the video that dropped yesterday. So I needed to take down Christmas. And when I took down Christmas, everything was completely bare. So I was putting back some things, and it all stems from the stupid plate wall that I've got to put up before Dave gets here. But I have a stack of plates. They've sent me some. I've bought some. The goal is to make me a plate wall in the dining room. That's been a year in the make, not one single hole in the wall. So I put on my new tablecloth, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put these plates out. And then I started kind of almost color matching, but they were totally different designs and styles of the plates. And then I was like, oh, I got my tiered tray. And you know, Carol's all about a tiered tray. Yeah. So she kind of taught me how to build a tiered tray. I had never done that. To create a vignette, I had never heard of a tiered tray until I started watching her channel. And then I was like, I need that, but I didn't have a tiered tray. So then I had to make my own tiered tray video for that too. And so then I started pulling stuff, and I was like, you know what? I've got this in my inventory. I've got this in my inventory. And it turned out so cute because you're right. I did mix the genres and the errors, and I put clear glass and milk glass and cobalt blue glass, and I put some 30s stuff and some 50s stuff and all that kind of stuff in there. And then what I ended up doing, I knew I was going to film it for kind of like a, oh my gosh, look what I did for the in-between. And I decided, you know what? I think I'll just let them shop my home decor. I've showed you how to stage it. How I staged it, not the perfect way, but how I used these items that were odds and ends. It might have been one creamer or one vase, but I showed them how to stage it. And I was like, while I'm doing that, if it has a tag on it, I put a number and a price on the bottom because it came from my inventory anyway. And people said, even if they didn't buy anything, that's fine. But I loved the comments that said, hey, you had me thinking outside the box, or hey, I have some of those things. I like the way the colors match. And I did actually sell some things. I sold 4 things out of I think I only had like 15 or 16 items, but I sold 4 of those items just because they were able to be seen in how to use them. Because, you know, salt and pepper shakers, you're usually not going to use those vintage salt and pepper shakers, right? But you're going to do some decor with them. And let's see. Picasso Cat says, I love vignettes. It gives you a better idea how to display in your home. And Mom says, not everybody is as focused as some. So for me, a little mix, maybe color blocked, but things I'm drawn to by shape and detail. And I do think that using heights, you know, drawing people that they can see something from a shelf across the room, even if it's something weird or ugly, they're going to be like, oh my God, let me go look at that. And then they're in your booth, right? So I use a lot of that, especially in my markets. So I saw that you put Becky's up there. Hey, Becky, how are you? The staged is good for the collector, higher price. I think the mixed up ones for the resellers. Yeah, a lot of people are looking like that too. And so, like she says, there's antique, European, MCM, pottery. And let's go to hers. A comment. But Dolores, so you found that when you stage differently based on the basics of economics, which is supply and demand and desire, you know, like, what do they want? I need to put that in my booth. So you pulled some of the things that you liked and put stuff that they liked, and it sold.
Right. It wasn't so much what I liked. I pulled some of the Christmas stuff out and replaced it with gift stuff because I saw the Christmas items weren't necessarily selling. So I was like, all right, I could put that on my Etsy. Let me get some gift-like items and put in here. And what I tend to do is you have to look at each, like I have a glass case. So we have the top of the glass case, and then little blocks, right? Just like kind of behind me, like little blocks. I look at each one as an individual opportunity to stage it. So
Mm-hmm.
even though it's small, even though it's just a square, like a part of the whole case. So each little square that I put stuff in, this is like boudoir. This is like kitchen. This is like, living room. This is like something else. So when you look at each one, you're going to get a different. Wow, that would look good in my bedroom. Wow, I could use that in my kitchen. Wow, that vase is good for my living room. Wow, look at that. I like those old books. So that's kind of how I do it. So I'd like to look at each cube as an opportunity to make something in there because I'm limited with space.
Yeah.
So, so each one's going to be
Pam,
tell
you're
a different
muted.
story.
No,
I'm
Pam
muted?
is. Pam
Oh,
is.
I really like that concept, Dolores, that you take each cube, or it's like a little window.
yeah,
I like that idea because sometimes I feel like I'm looking at too broad of a picture
right.
and
Mhm.
I get overwhelmed when
Yeah.
I'm trying to stage. I really like that idea. I'm going to use that idea.
And so even in the boho stuff, because I know Pam
Mhm.
likes a lot of boho, like she's got some like the brown wicker rattan or whatever
Yeah.
that's called, what your pieces and your pieces. But if you put that with brass and then
Yeah.
you put some wood in there, I have to quote my mom here. She was like, live your life through color, because I'm going to wear gray every day because I can find something to go with it real quick. But if you put some pops of color, that's going to
Mhm.
draw them to maybe that shelf, or
Yeah.
maybe even if
Yeah.
it's like paper, or maybe a paper heart that's red or something like that. If you take a boho booth, that's typically going to be the browns and the
Earth
wood,
tone. Yeah.
grass, and the pottery, those earth tones, and you put a few pops of that green or that orange or that yellow in there, that's going to kind of draw them too. And I think Carol was talking about that, about Goodwill having the green section.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And do you do that, Carol? Do you tend to do colors or like vases or anything on your shelves?
I have been successful in the past with that, with the color blocking, but I haven't had the right merchandise lately. So I think I need to be more thoughtful when I'm purchasing stuff as to how I can stage it. That's what I'm thinking. And also going along with that, to get the color in, I like using props. And
Mhm.
if I can give them up, I will mark them for sale. I actually had something sell that had been in my booth forever. It was just a little tiered tray that I bought. It was silver, and I had little knick-knacky things on it, and it kind of helps to group something together
Mhm.
so that it's not just laying all over. Nobody's going to look at it and dig through, most likely. Well, not the average person, but I would.
Yeah.
I like
Us
to
diggers would.
yeah. So, and along that line, I bought yellow. It was about this big, and it was just simply probably from Hobby Lobby, something that you would hang on your wall as a shelf. Now that puts a pop of color, so I can put things inside of it and on top.
Mhm.
Like Dolores, I'm limited with space. And
Hmm.
then I can kind of group things together in there. The yellow might draw somebody in to look at it. So this
Yeah.
year, another goal of mine is to either look for more props or have my hubby make me more props. It could be as simple as some wood blocks to give height, but just
Yeah.
having everything all the same level is boring.
Yeah.
And you
Correct. Yeah.
do the stuff in the back. You're not going to sell it because nobody's going to see it. So that's
And,
another goal I have.
and also, you have to think about how you look at your booth like you were going to shop it. What
Yes.
would you want to see? If you were going to go thrifting and you went to an antique store, what would draw your eye to that? So
Hmm.
you have to look at your booth not as a seller but also as a buyer.
Right. I
Yeah.
agree. Look at it
But you
with
have to be able to think outside the box. Like because I'm not I'm not I like, so that, like, just like I said, I'm this, right? This is me, the pretties and all that. So I don't do well with brass or wood or that boho thing, because I am about lace and pink and pretty, I like all of that. So I struggle with being able to create a really pretty vignette that is that brass with the wood. And I mean, so in my booth, it's square. I might have this area over here might be Christmas, and then I might cluster all of these things. I've got some old housewares that I had, which is the burgundy with the almost like the Italian theme, but I've put that with the wood and all of that. And then I've got the table that is kind of like with the flowers and the Victorian, and then all my pretty stuff over there. So if you look at my booth, it looks like 3 different sections. Can I merge all those together? No, my brain could not merge all those together. It's so compartmentalized, And then I have this shelf that's kind of like you're saying, Dolores and Carol, where it is maybe some fish things here and maybe some, I don't know, a few weird, odd things here, but it just looks weird. So I'm gonna have to really work on that. So she says she's looking for a knickknack shelf that she can put a black antique frame over to display Victorian pieces. I bet that would be pretty.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Conversation starters. I mean, nothing says a conversation starter like a paper mache pig, or who was it had a turkey? That was Heather Elizabeth. She said it never sold, but it drew a lot of people into my booth.
You could just get Buddy from your mom and then just put next to you.
My mom has a flat Buddy, so she loves the movie Elf, and there's a cutout of Buddy, and she leaves it up all year. And at Christmas we take pictures with it. We ride it around in the golf cart. We drive, we do drive-bys with it. People stop by to take pictures. I mean, everybody that we know has had a picture taken with flat Buddy, and I mean, she does all kinds of hang stuff on him and stuff like that. So it's kind of a conversation starter. Her favorite is to put it in different places when people spend the night. So like if they pull back the shower curtain, there's flat Buddy, and it scares them.
Your mom's crazy.
Yeah.
There is a place here called Marshall's Antique Warehouse in Canton, Ohio, and they actually have big open houses for all the seasons, and they have a photo booth.
In Ohio.
And I think that draws a lot of people in.
Yeah.
They're interested in going and getting their photo in that area, and then they've got them in the door, and and they actually advertise on social media what their booth is going to look like, what the theme is.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. So as we're wrapping up, y'all, what have you learned and what's next for your space? Tell us something that you've learned. I mean, because Dolores, how long have you had yours?
It won't be. It's probably 9 months.
Yeah. And Carol, how long? That's true, LaDonna. That is true. She makes it look so pretty too. Carol, how long have you had yours?
It'll be 2 years in April.
And Pam?
Probably about 10 months.
Yeah. And so I've been in one shop. Well, I got in one in October. So it's only been 2 or 3 months. And then I've had the other one almost going on 3 or 4 years. So now, like Carol said before, I was like, put it in there. But if you don't make the rent the first month, then don't pull your stuff, just Carol is full of tips for a tiered tray, sister.
Yeah.
That's how I learned.
Okay.
But
her channel.
Her whole channel. She used to do, you used to do tiered tray collabs a lot.
I did,
and showing a lot of those too. And that's how I got started with the tiered tray. And I mean, actually, I made my tiered tray. I made a video on how I took 2 wooden chargers and an old wooden candlestick from Goodwill, and I put them together. And I painted it and distressed it, and that is my tiered tray. And it can be 2 tiers, 3 tiers. I mean, any of that. But yeah, she's the queen of tiered trays down there because she's got a whole bunch of them. So quick tips for a tiered tray, Carol, would be what?
Sure. You can't just sit everything on it and think it's going to look good. You have to tweak. You have to do levels. So you want to have different heights, and maybe find something that you can stick something in, like say a flower frog would be good to put for Valentine's Day. If you have a vintage Valentine that's a little higher, stick that in the back and then build down from there. Put your little stuff in the front. There you
What
go.
do you do with these? What do you do with these? I see these in your vignettes all the time. Tell them what you put in here.
If you can find any vintage or new cupcake picks, work great in there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I'm looking at my shelves and see if I have any. I kind of tend to like the wire ones better because they're more versatile. But cupcake picks or something, even like a pick that you can find to put in your flower arrangements would work. You could put that in there. Or if you had something that you could stick a picture on, like I'm thinking of those plastic picks. I think they use flower arranging as well. And then just give it something unusual in the mix on your tray that maybe is not Valentine-y. Like right now I'm looking at mine. I have clear glass salt and pepper shakers. They're miniature with red tops. So look for the color that will go with your decor.
Yeah.
You don't have to fill it up with all Valentines. And also layering on the bottom something fun, like for winter you could do some fake snow, like the cloth type I'm thinking. Or for Valentine's you could cut out little tiny hearts in red, white, pink, or even some like silver or gold to draw the eye, something like that. But I probably have a whole playlist on my channel, and I'm sure I did a Valentine's tiered tray last year. So you can look that up if you wanted to see.
So one of the things that I learned is I don't have enough stuff, and my tiered tray is not going to be packed, right? Because you got to put littles. It's got to fit in between the tiers, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't have enough little things, and that's how I became to get all the littles. And then what do you do with your littles? I also have not finished this project. Oh, in my spare time. But I got the doodad trays because I could rotate out my doodads as I put them on my tiered tray. Now, my tiered tray, I show you, like I have a odd plate that's on the top of the tier. And then I put a old, I think it's an Anchor Hawking milk glass creamer. And I put a bottle brush and tree inside of that. And I leaned an old clock face on up against that. But the tip that I learned is I use flowers, a lot of the faux flowers, like the fake flowers, as fillers. So like on my tier tray right now, I did kind of a blue and white theme. So I have a bunch of white and a few blue flowers, like mostly hydrangeas. And I use that, like before I've used snow, the faux snow, but I use that as a filler.
Perfect.
And so greenery, you just stick that greenery in there. You just make it, that makes it look full, and you really don't need that many items. Now, if I have salt and pepper shakers, usually what I try to do is, like, I had the little praying girl salt and pepper shakers in the blue dresses because they were blue and white. And that's what I did. I put one on the left top and one on the right bottom to balance that out. Wade Whimsies, Mom, you're talking about Wade Whimsies, the little ones. Yeah. And so, you know, they make little dolls. They make the little penny dolls. They look great in there. And yeah, doilies. Carol, I've seen you like drape over a doily to give it some different texture and stuff. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of, you just play with it. And my first one, I thought, let me tell you, my first tiered tray that I did with Carol, which was, I was like, I can do this. I'm going to do this. I stunk at it. Let me just say that. And it probably took me 5 hours. I was sweating. I was frustrated, but I pulled out things like a card. I pulled out an old card and something that somebody sent me in a package topper. And I just leaned it up against there. Anything like that is what you can use. But yeah, I like what she say. What did Geneva say? I like to set some little dolls in different glasses peeking out Yeah, there you go. Hey,
Hmm.
Christy. So yeah, they all those littles, like right now I've got a teeny tiny it's a perfume bottle. I can't Evening in Paris. It's cobalt blue. It's about this big. And then I bought an Avon little bitty white swan with a gold crown. I was like, yes, that's me. And then an Avon clear Cinderella carriage little bottle. And
Yeah.
those look great.
Think
Um,
outside the box, huh? And um, oh, it just left my mind. I was going to give you my best tip ever. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, so I use a lot of propping. See what she's saying? She says, "Oh, it's not round, not against the wall. That may be the problem. It's not completely flat, so things are sliding toward the middle." So what I did was put things up against them to barrier. So like an old wooden block, a little piece of wooden block to keep it from sliding as well. There.
Sticky.
Just keep playing with it. Yeah.
Oh, that was exactly my tip. I don't do it all in one day. I don't sweat for 5 hours like Beth did.
Well, I have to move on. I have to get it done. I have to finish it.
I just start out by just placing things randomly one day and looking at them for a while. Then the next day I tweak a little. Then the next day I tweak a little. And probably by the fourth day it's done.
Yeah, you just keep walking by it.
Yep.
Tall cake stands. Yeah, I think one of my first ones was a cake stand with another little cake stand on top because I hadn't figured out how to make one yet. And that literally was a clear glass candlestick that I found at Goodwill with a plate. And I glued that together and I put it on top of another plate stand just so that I could have it. But Dolores, I wanted to go back. They were talking about the booths and things like that. But the guy that you got the booth from, the new one,
Yeah.
He took you around to pick it.
Yes. He Sam cat. He okay, Chica. No. Good job.
Chica.
He yeah, I asked him what do you have, and he's like, well, let me show you. And he showed me this one, and this one was this price, and this one was this price. Over here, it's a little more. And we'll go upstairs, and we went upstairs, and he was very, very super nice. His name is Andy at Balls Over Antiques, and he said, and then at the end, when I decided what I wanted, he said, well, let's go have a look, pick out your booth. I was like, what, right now? Because I'm not moving in until March. He said, yeah, I'll save it for you. So he took me along where the glass cases were, and there was one in the middle. And he said, how about this one? Because it's right when you walk in, it's like right in the middle of all the glass, and the light comes right into to the to the window right at it. So it was really cool. He was really super nice. He let me pick which one I wanted, and he super helpful. But he said to me, and this was really cool. He said, I get people coming here, and because I already have a booth somewhere else. He goes, I get people coming here and think they're gonna set the world on fire with their stuff. So the truth of the matter is, you're not. You have to get established. You have to be there for some time. People have to know you're here. Uh, the customers dictate what you sell, and so the first month may be slow, and that's okay. Because once you start getting a following, like I did over at, in Sarah's shop, that, you're not going to come in here and sell everything, all the things are going to be sold and thank you, good night. You know what I mean? He's like, and if you need any help or advice or what, because remember, he's there, he owns it. He sees what comes, he sees what goes, he sees what's popular, he sees what's not. He sees what sits around. So he was like, if you need any help or whatever, just ask because if you do well, we do well.
Right.
So that's very encouraging. Yeah.
But he
Really
also had you pay, like I paid 6 months in advance, and he had you pay what, 3 months in advance?
3 months in
But
advance.
why did he tell you that was the case?
Because he's done it where people just pay like he didn't take the first 3 months, and people come in and go, put their stuff and go, well, I haven't sold anything this month, so I'm taking it all out. And then he's left with an empty booth. And the booth he showed me was this lady who came in and this is really sad. Right after the queen died, she put all queen stuff in the case. Like she rented the case, she put all coronation queen. I mean, she had just died. And he said, yeah, that'll probably work for about 2 weeks. And then the fervor will die down, and then it'll be King Charles. So, and then she put it in, and he would, he said, well, maybe you should, you should put something else in. She was like, no, this is now. And then she ended up taking away all the, now she's stuck with all this coronation, jubilee stuff that, yeah. I mean, I was like the day after she died, she was like, yeah, I'm here. I was like, good Lord, talk about, trying to make a buck off a dead lady. I was like, dang. So, and that's why he said for the first 3 months is because I have been, I do it if I do it month to month, and you don't give me like, it's a promissory note. It's like your first month's rent, your last month's rent, and a deposit. You know what I mean? Because he doesn't want to keep rotating people in and out. It's all the paperwork, it's all the hassle, it's all the you're not getting established, and people just think people don't want to stay with him. It's just, but he's like, he tells people, you're not going to set the world on fire in the first month.
Yeah.
But I know that because I've experienced it,
So I mean,
But,
that's what I said. Like, don't quit just because you didn't do well or sell anything. There's sometimes, like when I first got in there, this new booth, I sold like one item in the first month. But I was like, you know what? I'm here for 6 months. I'm not even going to worry about it. But the commitment is one thing, that you make a commitment, and there's a lot of work in keeping it staged and done or whatever. And then it's also commitment as them being a shop owner. It's like if you had an apartment building, tenants in and tenants out. So if you're thinking about getting a space, one, if you can find a space, because I know like Tammy and Martha have been looking for spaces and everything is booked, or there's a waiting list, or what is available is completely out of your realm. Don't put yourself in financial distress just to find a booth, because if you are paying more than you can pay, or more than a storage, that's what I always say. If it's more than a storage building, you don't need to pay, because you're going to put yourself in financial strain, and you may or may not want to, you may or may not sell anything, and then you're out that money. So, yeah.
So when you're a new person in a shop, they've never seen your stuff before. They don't know you, so it's getting established. That takes time. That's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah. And LaDonna, that's what's in my booth. What's in my booth is things that are heavy that I do not want to ship. So for me, I think Dolores does some live sales. Pam was doing them, but she worked, with the kids. And now I know that after 30 minutes, I was exhausted again. But I still do it. Now I'll put my smaller things in live sales. Look who came in. Hi, Daniel. Thumbs up. Thanks for pimping us, Daniel. Thanks for coming in too. So I put the bigger things in my booth, and I put the smaller things, quick turnaround where you can get a whole bunch of things, or that are lightweight shipping, in my live sales. And I found that really does work a little bit better, because I can rotate them. I can offer this in a sale, and anybody, they can shop my hauls or whatever. And then if it doesn't sell, I'm not devastated, because I do have a booth, and I have 2 booths, and I can send that on to the booth. So it is a really good backup too. But Pam, how do you feel about the amount of work it takes to keep your booths stocked?
Okay, so right now, my booth is not stocked. And here's my problem. I work with these kids all day. I'm a teacher. I come home. I don't want to come home and work more pricing things. I just want to veg out. I don't want to even hear the TV going. I mean, I'm mentally exhausted.
Yeah.
I think mostly. So it is, it takes me a lot of effort to stock my booth. So what I was doing before this was pricing things, washing stuff, pricing things. And now once we get off of here, I'm going to go back to doing that. And it's my Sunday. I mean, I really wish I were retired. I think if I had more time is
time.
a big issue. Just, you don't have the time. And like today, typically I put a video out. Well, I'm probably not going to put the video out because I did spend all day yesterday sourcing. I went to 4 different Goodwills. I was getting footage for videos. I went to a yard sale, but I came home, then I was exhausted, and then I didn't want to price things for my booth. You see what I'm saying? So
Right.
there's a lot of effort going into it, especially if you have 2 booths and you have to price a lot of merchandise.
It's a lot of square footage. It's a
I'm
lot of
sorry?
square footage to decorate. It's like having 2 homes outside of your home.
Yes.
And so, that's one thing that she learned. We talked about as we start to wind it up, that what did you learn and what's coming up next? She learned it's a lot of work to maintain a booth. So yeah, there are some mornings where I don't sleep well. So I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm Marco Poloing Dolores because it's already 10 o'clock her time. And she's like, girl, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm in the studio pricing items, or I'm in the kitchen washing inventory before I go to work at 6:30 in the morning. When I get off of work at 3:30, I'm either running home because I have to do a live, or I am going by quickly if there's an estate sale or a Goodwill or something, or I'm coming home and I am washing said inventory that I just unwrapped and researching it and putting price tags on it. I did the stuff that was in the video, the live that we did yesterday morning that I was gifted. I've been doing that since about 7 o'clock this morning until 10 o'clock when it's time to go to church. So, putting all, inventorying and putting tags and updating my inventory for tax records, because, you got to do that too. So, what I learned is it is 2 full-time jobs. And like you, Pam, I'm running major sales right now so that I can it's that in between, so I can get rid of stuff, and then I'll see y'all for February and March in those booths. So, Carol, what have you learned and what's coming up next?
I've learned it's a lot of work, but I also learned that I love it. I absolutely love doing it. I love the thrill of getting that envelope with all the tags in and finding out what's sold. And it's always a surprise. Sometimes I know exactly what sold, but there's always those items that have sold that I don't know. I kind of approach my pricing as I have a half hour here. I'll just get priced what I can. And I always have a bin ready to take down if I get to go down, even if I only put 5 items in. I've learned I don't have to do a grand thing. I can go down and I can put 5 new items in, and I can knock some prices down of things that aren't selling, and I can move it around. That's just as important to me as restocking. But I'm in it for a while. I'm loving it, and I wouldn't mind moving a little bit location and getting close together. But I'm going to be doing this for a while, and it's my escape from. It's my fun, like to go out and escape the humdrum of everyday life and the things that you have to do that aren't so much fun. This is my pleasure. I love doing it.
Yeah, when I am not being so very sweet or pretty, and that's Mom and Dolores that get to hear that. But I am done with have tos and for you will do's. I am going to be doing what I want to do, like I'm done doing things that I have to do. I want to do something that I want to do. And no, it's not something for you. It's something for me.
Yes.
So because I really enjoy this. I'm also learning. And it's a lot of work, but with anything, I mean, if you want to learn to run a marathon, if you want to learn to cut hair, if you want to learn to paint or draw, it's a lot of work and it's repetition, But I love this, and hopefully, if I should ever be blessed enough to retire, then I would have something that it can keep me going and keep me busy and keep a little bit of income coming in. I mean, because I'm not a sitter. I'm not a sitter. I
No.
can't do that. Dolores is like, nope. If you ask Christy,
No.
she Marco Polos me and she says, why is every time I see you, you're in motion? You're either in the car, you're walking, you're washing dishes, you're doing something. But I just can't do it. I love doing this. And I
Yeah.
love sharing with other people and getting ideas. Cause I mean, like I said, I'd have never done a tier tray display if I didn't find Carol's channel. But I was like, I want to participate in that. And then I thought, oh God, I have to record that. That was after I finally spent 5 hours doing it, then you got to record it and lean over, and my back was hurting. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? But now I'm really good at it. Like I have a little box that has some doodads in it, and I can just put those doodads in there. That's why I stage with my inventory, because I am not going to store all of this stuff. Eventually I'm going to move it out. So yeah, I'm sitting, but I'm crafting, but you're still moving. You're still moving when you're doing something like that. So what'd you learn, Dolores, and what's next?
I learned that I actually enjoy it, that I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. I was very nervous and scared at first and thought, what if it doesn't work? Okay, well, what if it doesn't work? I, if I, if I don't, if it doesn't sell in my booth, I'll just put it on Etsy or eBay.
Yeah. Now she
Yeah,
spends a lot of time listing, which I don't think I could
do.
sit and do that. I
Yeah.
don't.
But I just think that I think it's. I wish I'd done this sooner.
Yeah.
I learned.
I did
Yeah.
learn to use, like I use copy paper boxes from school. And
Mhm.
what I do is as I get things and find them, I will start creating boxes to take to one booth and take
Yeah.
to the other booth. And then I start pulling inventory and putting live sales or drop sales down there. So I am constantly shifting that inventory. What I don't like to do is go to the booth and take everything that didn't sell out of it, because then what do you do with it, right? You got to store it, or you got to donate it, take it out of inventory, and all that kind of stuff. So you have to have a plan for when everything sells and you need more stuff, and you have to have a plan for when things don't sell. What do you do with that inventory? Yeah. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So did anybody else have any other questions? We are at the end of our time. I love these chats. I love getting ideas from y'all. We always are learning something that we need to talk about. And it's kind of like our planning time. If you're a teacher, you got a 45-minute planning period. This is kind of like our planning period. What went wrong? What could we have been doing differently? What ideas? Because if you're just doing your stuff, it's hard for you to see what may be working. Yours isn't working, but why is mine not working? You have to go into the I wonder thing. So, we've talked about some really good ideas about how to mix things up and add color. And I know that Dolores has been putting some videos and reels about her booth every once in a while. Pam started doing some stuff. Daniel, I'll pray for you still. It's almost over, darling.
I miss you.
And so we're going to try to still post those. If you have a booth, or if you've created, I'm sure now Carol's going to get on a tiered tray for us so that we can do another collab, because those are really fun.
Disney's next.
Disney collab? I don't have
Oh,
Disney
wow.
stuff.
Oh.
Now I have to source Disney stuff for this collab. Darn it. Now I have to go outsourcing some Disney stuff. So, is there so much thing as too much crafting? I don't know. I actually am going to be doing some crafting, and I think we might do it live. It's some ephemera. We're using an old ephemera to do some paper crafts. And I think Debbie from Our Vagabond Travels is going to join me. So that's going to be pretty fun because, you know, you get these things and they're falling apart and they don't really sell anyway, or you want to try something. So it's better with old ephemera than regular paper. So thanks so much for coming, y'all. Thanks, Pam, Carol, and Dolores for being here. It's been fun. We did talk to Erin. Y'all, Erin was supposed to be here with us, and she is going back to work outside of the home. I loved her little picture. She was so cute, all dressed up, and she was like, I'm happy. But she has little kids that are that, you know, are in hockey and extracurricular things, plus school and transportation and all that. And, you know, sometimes it just has to take a back seat. Oh, look, Catherine says, oh, I can kill some Disney stuff on a tiered tray.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Was you not a designer or an artist for Disney?
Yeah.
I know she did a big picture for that.
Fun.
Yeah. So thanks so much for being here, y'all. And, you know, as always, y'all stay pretty and be sweet. Bye.
Bye.
Next time.